Welcome to this Town of Newmarket Council meeting on Monday, May 28th, 2018. All members of Council are present with the exception of Councillor Twinney and Councillor Hempin, and Mayor Van Bynen is presiding.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There are no public notices required today and no additions or corrections to the agenda. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? There being none, then we'll go forward to our presentations, and we'll start with Beth Hart, the curator for the Almond Campbell Museum, and we're here to recognize the Heritage Art Contest winners. Beth, and if members of council could come forward, we could present this to the winners as we have.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff, and our guests in the audience today, I'm very happy to be able to present the winners of this year's Heritage Art Contest. The contest is open to all residents of Ontario, but the artwork must be on the subject of Newmarket heritage. We had some wonderful pieces come in. They're on display until the end of July in the corridor outside the planning office. And I shall now call the names of our winners and ask them to come forward individually. Once you have received your prize, could you please just wait off to the side and we'll have a group picture at the end. So, our grand prize winner is Radial Railway Arch by Avi Richardson. This picture has been purchased by the Mayor's office and will be on permanent display here at the municipal office. And that image is actually burned into wood. It's beautifully detailed. Okay, we have two honorable mentions in no particular order. Our first one is Botsford Street in black and white, a photograph by Malcolm Watts. And our other honorable mention is Backdoor William Stickwood House by Sheila Dalton. Congratulations to all our winners, and thank you very much to everyone who entered and to our wonderful judges.
Well, our next deputation is Jacob Gow. There's Jacob.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
And we permit up to 5 minutes?
Yep.
Okay.
Alrighty, so we're going to start with a quick video of the York Pride Parade, which was hosted for the first time last year in Main Street, Newmarket, which was an absolute success. And York Pride would like to thank the town of Newmarket and every department that worked on it that did an amazing job. And this year we have round 2, and every department is working extremely hard to make it an even bigger success. So thank you.
Hey there, I'm Sheldon Spiel, and now that summer is officially here, so is York Pride Festival. It's absolutely amazing to see the growth that York Pride has had here in York Region with our community. We want you to come out, pun intended, and experience it for yourself.
The York Pride Parade has grown to a bustling extravaganza of over 50 groups, showcasing the many supporters of diversity and inclusion within the region.
We've got live entertainment, we've got activities for all ages, and a grand finale of fireworks and a beautiful beer garden.
Come out to York Pride.
All together now!
It's not going to go into the next video on YouTube, is it? Okay, wonderful. It was absolutely a non-starter to even think about moving the parade this year. We had such an amazing time.
So I just created this dope website with Wix.
Okay.
Let me show you how I did it.
Next time I won't do that. We'll just leave it blank. This year we're joining a number of companies in the BIA and around Newmarket and community groups to once again take part in the Pride Parade on Saturday, June 16th. And we encourage council, if you'd like to march, to reach out to Brianne Evelyn. And the email is mycouncilmarches@yorkpridefest.com. And we definitely encourage people to come out and enjoy and experience Pride here in Newmarket. Some of the things that York Pride would definitely like to do with the town of Newmarket in future years is to really develop a partnership that works on encouraging more of our residents to come out, and even residents in all of York Region. Some of the things that our group is thinking about requesting is a town-sanctioned event where we can better partner and utilize resources for both the Pride Parade and Pride on Riverwalk. A huge component to York Pride is continuing a family-friendly atmosphere that encourages all ages to partake. And this year we have Reptilia, Home Depot coming out and doing a kid zone, Rock and Chalk is providing rock climbing, and then we have face painting, cotton candy, inflatables, and a number of other things taking place to really encourage the family feel and really engage the different age groups to come out and celebrate together. Something that we've done in the last 18 years of York Pride is proclamations and flag raisings, and Newmarket has both proclaimed and risen the Pride flag in the past. And I know that there's no necessarily like community flagpole, so we were wondering if the town would think about doing flagpoles at Riverwalk that would allow community groups to host their organization's flags for their festivals, or bring in temporary ones for events. Another thing is our shared advertising campaign for York Pride. Last year we had around 2,000 people come out, which by anything is a huge difference to when we were in Richmond Hill. we were lucky if we would get 200 people to come out to the festival. And, you know, that was including about 500 people in the parade. Last year we had just over 700 people in the parade and about 2,000 plus people watching. So I think the word is getting out. I think the support is there. And I think that if there's anything, we can really build a festival like York Pride in a really amazing space here in Newmarket. And in the presentation, there are a couple of things that I'll leave with you. I think everyone got a copy of this. And I'd love for you to consider some of the things. And then Main Street business development. Something that we really want to do is work with the Main Street businesses to encourage the restaurants to really partake in the festival instead of bringing in outside food trucks, so that we can really build an economic impact in the Main Street Heritage Core.
Good.
And
I need to ask you to wrap it up there. Okay, Jacob.
And other than that, we thank you for your support.
Great. Thank you. I do have two people in the queue with questions or comments. Regional Councillor.
Thanks very much. Jacob, just want to say that we're proud to have Pride Fest here in Newmarket. It's I was amazed, you know, there the first year, and actually I got to ride on the back of a yellow convertible, and it was very fun. And it was just the energy and the positivity and the response from the community was astounding. It was phenomenal. So it was just a really positive event. You know, another great festival and a great message to be sending out in our community of inclusivity and diversity. And so it was thank you to you and to everybody who put so much time into this and for bringing it to Newmarket, and we're there to support you all the way. Thank you. We're looking forward to the festival again this year.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Quappies.
Thank you, for Jacob. I had a great time last year, and I saw families with kids involved, and everybody had a wonderful time. And this was a first in Newmarket. I totally think that what you're doing right now is going to bring a lot more people out there and a lot more involvement, and we are really happy that you're taking and focused on Newmarket in order to do this. So we're all behind you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I leave?
Broom.
Oh,
is there one more, Councillor? Yep.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you very much. And yes, Jacob, we worked together last year on the parade, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I was of the assumption that it's going to stay in Newmarket forever, which I'm hoping it will. And I just wanted to say, you know, just to go from a parade and then to divide the event the way that you have, and to have two separate events, one at Riverwalk and a parade operating on the same time, I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to all the exciting things that you've added. And here you are asking to grow it even more, which is amazing, and the event hasn't even happened yet. So I'm sure next year, I don't know, maybe we'll have, you know what? I'll leave it to you. I've got a ton of ideas, and we'll talk. But I think what you've done so far is just incredible, and I can't wait to see everything unfold on the 18th.
Yeah,
congratulations.
I think really just really quick to wrap up. There's always been a north-south divide between Toronto and York Region. People have always gone down to Toronto to socialize, to hang out, to access supports, and we're finally building those supports here in York Region. And I think it's vital that we really build a formula that works in one municipality, and then we can share that with others. And I think I want Newmarket to be that municipality that is that stepping stone. So I'm going to leave you with this trailer. It's 30 seconds, and then I'm done. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. It would be appropriate to receive the presentation. Councillor Kerwin, Councillor Broom. All those in favor? Jacob, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun last year, and we anticipate that momentum will continue. Certainly, as a result of the very hard work that you've put into organizing this and working very closely with our recreation and culture team, as well as the downtown merchants. So I'm looking forward to another exceptional year again this year. So thank you for bringing this forward. And that motion was carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next deputation is Sandra Patano, and that's with respect to item number 10 of our Committee of the Whole minutes, and that's relative to 285 Harry Walker Parkway. That's on. Okay, we permit up to 5 minutes. Sandra?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Sandra Patano. I'm a planner with Weston Consulting Group, and I'm here acting on behalf of Durand Developments, the owner of the lands at 285 Harry Walker Parkway South. As you may be aware, over the past few months, Weston Consulting has been working with the owner of the subject lands and the York Region District School Board to prepare and submit a zoning bylaw amendment application and a concurrent site plan application to permit a standalone parking lot for the exclusive use of the school board offices located across the street. The property owner and the York Region District School Board have also entered into a lease agreement for the exclusive use of the proposed parking lot by the school board. Both the landowner and a representative from the school board are here with me this evening. On May 22nd, a staff report recommending approval of the zoning bylaw amendment application was denied by Committee of the Whole. The committee expressed concerns regarding safety, particularly jaywalking across the street, as well as the use of the lands for a parking lot instead of a more intensified employment use. I am here today to speak to these issues and to request that council not deny this application, but rather defer it, so that we can continue discussions with staff and explore options to address these safety concerns. With respects to concerns over land use and intensification, it is recognized that a parking lot may not be the optimal use of the lands. However, it is acknowledged by town staff that the proposed development is a permitted use consistent with provincial policy and the Newmarket official plan. It also does not preclude the lands from being developed for more intensified use in the future. The provincial, regional, and local planning documents permits incidental or ancillary uses on employment lands that primarily support and service existing businesses in the employment lands. The proposed development is intended to be an accessory use to the existing school board offices and will provide the necessary infrastructure to sustain the current and continued employment use of the school board facilities. The York Region District School Board is a prominent tenant in Newmarket that brings jobs and businesses to the town through their training facilities at this location, and the proposed development will provide the parking area the school board requires to allow for their continued business operations and growth in Newmarket. Instead of these lands sitting vacant and underutilized for another 10 years, they can serve as an ancillary use to the district school board offices until such a time the school board has the economic means and resources to look at more long-term solutions for their continued growth, or until the landowner is financially able to redevelop the lands for more intensified employment use. Concerning issues pertaining to safety, we request the opportunity to continue to work with staff to explore other options, including revisiting the feasibility of a pedestrian crosswalk as a first option, and as a second option, restricting the parking lot to a maintenance vehicles only parking lot, whereby the whole parking lot would be secured with a gated arm access and pass code. And also we can revisit the wording in the draft bylaw to reflect this restriction. At the Committee of the Whole meeting, we were asked if the school board had looked at the option of a tiered parking structure. I discussed this matter with the school board, and they advised me that they investigated an above-ground parking structure for 300 Harry Walker Parkway South in 2016. At that time, a couple of options were sketched to create 100 additional parking spaces, which is the optimum for the area they have, and it was determined to be cost prohibitive for the school board, with a cost estimate of approximately $2.4 million, as well as additional issues pertaining to the length of time to construct the parking structure, being approximately 2 years, and the impact that the construction would have on the operations of both school board sites. The overflow parking lot is financially more feasible in comparison and can be up and running in a shorter time frame. Although the tiered parking structure option is a separate matter independent of the application currently before council, it is significant in light of the school board's available options and the request that we are making this evening. Before I conclude, I would also like to address a comment that was made at the Committee of the Whole regarding the lack of landscaping provided in the proposed development. The proposed parking lot will actually contain a high standard of design and landscaping and low impact development features. The parking lot contains landscape islands and buffers throughout the site, and bioswales are proposed within landscaping islands to meet Conservation Authority groundwater recharge and phosphorus removal requirements. There's approximately 2,500 square meters, or over 26,000 square feet of soft landscaping being proposed in the proposed development, with approximately 48 trees, 340 shrubs, and 190 perennials and grasses throughout the parking lot.
Are you going to wrap up now? Or?
I'm wrapping up.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank
members
you.
of council, we have invested a significant amount of time and effort into preparing the development proposal and the concurrent site plan application. At this time, we request that council not deny this application tonight, but to defer it so that we may have the opportunity to continue to work with staff and council to make continued improvements to the development proposal and to specifically address the safety concerns.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I have Councillor Kerwin in the queue. We've also had a conversation with the school board this afternoon, and they've expressed an interest in trying to find some solutions. And I understand there is a representative from the school board here as well. I'm wondering if we might just break with procedure for a minute and hear from the school board as well, and then we can come back to any questions as we go forward. So if you'd like to come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Councillors. My name is Louise Surisco. I am the Director of York Region District School Board. Thank you very much for breaking in procedure and welcoming me here this evening. Indeed, we have a challenge at York Region that we're asking your support and time to work through and work alongside your staff to problem solve. On Harry Walker Boulevard, we have a building that is a high-use building. We have hundreds of people coming to and fro the building. The parking lot, sadly, is not sufficient to take the number of employees who are coming to the site for professional development opportunities, as well as going to other locations. And so the parking lot is overfilled, and what happens, and I might say that I'm guilty of this as well, we interlope into other parking areas. We're parking on the street. It's not tenable, it's not safe. So we're wanting really to be as respectful as we can and looking at other options to find safe parking that is secure. The questions and the ideas that you have raised through this process are very good ones, and we are asking for the time to consider them, like a crosswalk as one example, and to be analyzing that proximity to the existing lights, and as was presented earlier, to be looking at restricting who is parking in the suggested area that we're looking to lease. That's not our preferred option. We're really, because of the high volume of employees that come to and fro in the building, we are hoping to have full access to that location, but Certainly there have been good ideas posed on today's call that we would like some opportunity to explore and to continue to have the conversation with you. You are valued partners to the York Region District School Board, and we're wanting to continue to do some problem solving alongside your staff. So we are seeking support of the deferral this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have in regards to the use of our employees and the site.
Thank you. And the mutual partnership is beneficial for both sides.
Thank you.
Councillor Kerwin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Louise, and thank you, Sandra. I would think that the employees at the Glass Palace, or the you got it for steel years ago, so we have a nickname for it. We have such an excellent transit system in York Region that most of our employees could arrive by public transit, but failing that, I was an employee of the board for 43 years, and you paid me well, so I certainly want you to succeed. I thank my colleague, the Deputy Mayor and Regional Councillor John Taylor. We've been in dialogue today and before this. And I thank you, Sandra. We've been in dialogue today for a long time, and I really thank you for bringing forward, as I suggested that you do, the landscaping. I think that's important, and the safety issues. And the mayor calls me sometimes really rough, and I don't blame him for this, but I think here we can work out a solution. And my prime concern, because of the issues that we had up on Mulock Drive where 3 students were hit, and thanks again to my colleague, Deputy Mayor and Regional Councillor Taylor, we're coming up with a solution that's proceeding. I think this is what you're suggesting tonight is what I've been after. And when we've received the deputation, we bring the report forward again, and was here. I have listened to you, as I said I would, and we'll see where we go from here. So thank you both, Denise, and thank you, Sandra, for listening. And when we go back to staff, I'm convinced that we will come up with a solution. It's necessary for both of us, but the issue was the safety. And now that you said down the road that parking lot might not be a parking lot, it might be brought back into industrial, commercial. In the future, it might not always be a parking lot. You might find buildings elsewhere within the region, and the congestion there at the Crystal Palace will be minimized, and you will get on with the job. And I compliment you as the new director for the York Region District School Board.
Thank you.
Denise, nice to see you and nice to meet you. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Regional Councillor?
Thanks very much. Thanks for the presentation and the updated information. I just wanted to be clear. So you're seeking a deferral to take a little bit of time to particularly look at what I heard was 2 things, which was a possible reconfiguration of the parking lot for service vehicles only as one possible option. The other to fully examine the opportunity to put some sort of crosswalk or a facility there. I heard a little bit about a third option, but not a lot. But are you also, if we were to support a deferral, are you also going to be looking or fully examining a tiered parking option, particularly with some of the sort of newer and later technologies that are out there that are more affordable? And
through you, thank you. That was raised on the phone call today, and it's a structure that we're not familiar with and we have not taken a look at. So we would be using the time after a deferral to cost that out to see whether that's a possibility. Okay, great. Yeah, because that I definitely can support this and this request. It's important to me that that's looked at. I mean, it is. I mean, I accept that you have to look at it, understand what the product is like and what the cost implications are. But aside from those considerations, it seems to me it's the best short and long-term solution. So if it could work, it would be wonderful in multiple ways. But I'm glad you're at least having a look at that and other options as well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to also add to that we will assist the school board with exploring that option for the tiered parking structure. However, it is an independent it is an independent option separate from this application, and that it would be required to go through a different application process for the school board's lands, and would require a separate or a different site plan type of application. But we will explore and assist the school board in looking at those options.
Thank you.
So, sorry, so if I could just clarify, are you working for both the landowner and the school board?
So I am representing the landowner, but we have been working together with the school board to get a site plan and a development that both parties are happy with and that satisfies staff comments and requirements. So we've been working together.
Okay. That's great, but I mean, I think the school board, though, has indicated that they're willing to look at least the opportunity, the option of a tiered structure, if they believe that's feasible, and whether they look at that through you or with you or independently. If that's feasible, then they may not need to pursue this option. I accept it's only being explored, but I hope we fully explore it. And
yes, certainly. And we have had, again, that costing of the tiered model. I think what we were talking about today is, and I've not seen this structure, but some sort of portable modular.
And I believe our CAO has offered to make some contacts for you, provide you with some information, with some of that information. That's correct, yeah. So that might throw a different light onto the situation. But I think really what's important is that we take the time to see if we can focus on a solution, and I think a deferral would be appropriate at this point. In addition to that, I'm quite aware of your timelines. I think your target is to be ready by September. So hopefully within the next cycle of either the committee of the whole or directly coming to council would be the next steps in terms of looking at those options. So it would be appropriate to receive the deputation, and then we'll bring forward this report. Could I have a motion to receive the deputation? Councillor Kerwin, Councillor Vague. All those in favour? Any opposed? There's none opposed, and that's carried. Thank you. I'll bring forward then item number 10 of the Committee of the Whole of May 22nd. That's the zoning bylaw amendment, application of 285 Harry Walker Parkway South. The recommendations are before you. I wonder if I could have a motion with respect to that report.
Motion to defer, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, seconded by Regional Councillor. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Any opposed? None opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Next item is the approval of minutes for council of May the 7th. Minutes are before you. Are there any corrections? Any errors or omissions? There being none, could I have a motion to approve these minutes? Councillor Broom? Councillor Clapis? All those in favour? Any opposed? None opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Next item is reports by regional representatives. Regional Councillor.
Thanks very much. Just going to report on and share with council members of the public some of the information we received this past few weeks at the region. Staff there will go through a process of summarizing some of the accomplishments and actions that have moved the region forward over the last 4 years. And I thought I'd just to give a few highlights. There's a number of things here, but I'll just provide a few highlights. Examples of some of the advancements: 99.9% of all drinking water samples meet Ontario drinking water quality standards. I'm sure some people will say, but what about the other 0.1? That's an extremely high rating by any municipal or regional standard. Also, the region conserved to about 26.6 million litres of water per day through that date, through the Water for Tomorrow program. So some very significant advancement in terms of water, huge numbers, reductions in water use over the numbers of years now, but over the past 4 years. The other one I really wanted to highlight was over the last 4 years, the region planted 343,000 trees. which I think is incredibly important to our region and communities. And another front in the area that I chair, Community Health Services, the region's wait list for child care fee assistance, that wait list decreased by 64%. Decreased from 801 people on the families in the wait list down to 288 over a 4-year period, which was a significant advancement as well. I thought I'd close just by pointing out that the region added, in the last 4 years alone, added $679 million to the regional reserves and reserve funds. So there's a number of other highlights throughout there I can share with any member of council. There's some documents on each area, each function within the region, and happy to share those. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerwin.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, just a question to our Deputy Mayor and Regional Councillor. Reading some articles on China recently about how they're trying to offset the carbon emissions and get credits for carbon tax, and read the article that India was no longer receiving the recyclables from Great Britain, and reading the article that China was no longer going to be receiving recyclables or contaminated recyclables from North America, which would be Canada in particular, because I noticed the shipment of recyclables to China is quite high. Does this affect the region of York and their ability to continue to collect recyclables and find a place to sell them or to dispose of them?
Mm-hmm. Regional Councillor?
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question, and basically, as you said, some of the markets in China and India are tightening up their criteria for receiving. So it's not that they're cutting off, as you pointed out, but it's about the level of contamination, and so they're tightening that up, which is a good thing, frankly. But it is affecting the region a little bit. It's affecting all jurisdictions throughout North America. It's basically going to force most jurisdictions in North America to get even more precise in how they separate and how they manage some of these areas of recyclable waste. And so we're working through a process right now. I'm very confident that we'll find the solutions that get us back into those markets rapidly or fully back in, where it's partial restrictions at different levels, but it's absolutely crucial. I'm sure you may be aware of this, but I was shocked. I knew there was an issue like this, but I was shocked this past weekend when I was watching a documentary with my children, and that you've probably heard of this sort of floating sea of plastic that's out in the ocean. What I didn't know, and what they'd underestimated until this documentary was reporting, is they underestimated the size of it, and that this floating sea of plastic in the ocean is 3 times the size of Spain, which is almost unimaginable. And so they're developing some technologies for capturing it and bringing it in large numbers, but they're saying it's going to take up to a decade to recycle just the plastic waste that's in the ocean. And then we've got the ongoing waste that we're generating as a society. And so fine-tuning and getting our approach to recycling down, improve it and move it forward even more is absolutely crucial, not just for York Region, but for the whole planet, and that's not hyperbole.
Thank you. Councillor Kerwin?
Just thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, excellent response, and I'm glad you're aware of it and concerned about it, because the other thing I noticed in British Columbia and Alberta through my reading is that their plastic bottles are refundable, 10 cents. Same way with Coke cans or any can. They're refundable, and they have depots for that. And 2 questions. Number one, is there any way that the region can continue to pressure, and we're coming up to a provincial election, and I've been on this for decades, is for the province of Ontario to adopt a refundable program for plastic bottles or cans, very similar to BC and Alberta. That's a project we can look at down the road with the new government. But also, John, to make our residents more aware that when they put things into the blue box that are unacceptable, then that contaminates a lot of what we pick up. So is there a program that we can adopt to make people more aware that this you cannot put into the blue box, because it's those contaminated shipments that the People's Republic of China is not going to accept anymore, very similar to India. And we're going to have to handle our own recyclables and our own garbage rather than shipping it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. I can respond very quickly to say that, yeah, the education is going to become even more crucial as these restrictions tighten, and as they should. So education is going to become more crucial, and there's education campaigns also ongoing in terms of reducing food waste, so having less go into the organics bins. That's a big push on at the region right now. And the final piece of the puzzle, I think, is going to be very interesting to watch as the province is shifting right now, and we're in the middle of this shift, and we're not sure how it's going to play out fully, but they're shifting to a thing called extended producer responsibility, or EPR, and that extended producer responsibility is going to put more pressure and more responsibility for not only financing but running the Blue Bin program. And there's people out there that believe that's going to lead improvements, and there's people out there that are concerned that it might not lead to a strengthening of the system. And so we've been inputting through the region, as the mayor knows, our areas of concern in relation to this and where we feel the program needs to be stronger, and we will be monitoring it very closely as we move forward. But to all of your points, this shift to extended producer responsibility is going to be worth watching very closely over the coming months.
Yep. Thank you very much. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario are leading the discussions with the producers, and those discussions are painfully slow. You're absolutely right. Okay, thank you. Next item is the reports of committees and staff, the Committee of the Whole of May 22nd. Are there any items on this, with the exception of item number 10, which has already been dealt with, that members wish to deal with separately? Regional Councillor?
Item 13, which is I believe, the delegated authority for fees and charges, if I'm lining my numbers up right.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Any other items? Being none, then, could I have a motion, please, to adopt the recommendations Committee of the Whole, with the exceptions of item number 10 and 13? Councillor Bizantz? Councillor Clapis? All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed? And that is carried. Item number 10 has been dealt with. Item number 13.
I'd like to I guess, amend the motion.
Yep.
Thanks very much. So what I'm really doing is I think is as I put forward this item number 5 on or the 5th bullet on number 13 is just amending it to reflect the wording, I think, and perhaps the intent, depending on how it was interpreted by staff. So the 1, 2, 3, and 4 would stand, or perhaps it would replace 3 and 5 but it's basically that council directs staff to prepare an information report on the 2019 major fees and charges, at which point council may direct the report to be bumped up to an upcoming Committee of the Whole. If no request for a bump up is received within 30 days, staff are deemed to have delegated authority to execute the increases to fees and charges and the associated bylaw.
Okay.
So
I get a seconder for that. Councillor Broom. Okay. Speaking to it as the mover, then.
Just speaking to it. I mean, we had quite a discussion about the delegated authority for fees and charges, and council felt that we could manage adequately through the campaign, and with some direction from staff and information from staff about the lame duck legislation, we felt we could adequately handle this, but that in order to manage the varied schedule that leads through a summer, first of all, and into a campaign, that we could kind of find a balance between keeping control or keeping ourselves in the decision-making process, but still having some level of streamlined delegation to it if necessary. So what they originally said was that the way it was reported here in the Committee of the Whole was that council directed staff to prepare an information report on the 2019 major fees and charges, at which point council may decide whether or not to override the delegated authority. And I just wanted to change the language to just indicate that this is very much to be designed like our standard information reports with a bump up process. So that, and I don't see that bump up process is necessarily overriding, and I'm not sure it was meant that way, but it's just meant to be a process where staff will present an information report that'll let council know where the fees and charges are heading and what things are looking like, and council will have a time period to bump it up, and if it isn't bumped up, then staff will carry on with the report and with delegated authority, because I'm sure there'll be some nuances within that.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Broom is a seconder. Nothing. Okay. Mr. Shelton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that is more reflective of the direction, although a time limit was not put into that, the 30-day period. There is a fairly tight time frame. I'll just ask Commissioner Armchuk if the 30 days works. I believe the information report would come out in August.
So if that, you're saying maybe like a tighter? Is that
could be tighter, 30 days or to the very next committee of the whole. That might might work.
There's not going to be many committees of the whole towards the latter part of the year as well. Madam Commissioner.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. It may be better to say that to bump up the report to the next committee of the whole meeting rather than saying 30 days, because we may actually be less than 30 days for the August meeting.
Okay, so are we anticipating that the
wording could be council may decide to bump up the report to the next scheduled committee of the whole meeting, failing any such bump up, then staff can carry on with their delegated authority.
Okay. So we're anticipating the August meeting there'll be an information report prior to the August meeting? Okay. My concern is if it's after that, there's not many council meetings beyond that, and that staff needs to be able to move forward in the latter cycle with some degree of confidence about the pricing model. Does that work then, Mr. Sheldon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That does work, and we will make that work.
Okay.
So can I just have one thought, and I appreciate the comments, but I think it's also important, though, and I'm happy to leave this as direction to staff, or just I think we understand. But it's also important that, well, maybe 30 days is too much, that there needs to be a reasonable amount of lead time so that user groups have the opportunity to understand it, to contact a member of council, contact staff, right? So it's a balance there, but we have to make sure that it's not coming in like 3 days before or something. And sometimes I know it can be tight and there can be a lot of pressure to get these things in, but with something that is so public facing and has so many various user groups engaged, we need to make sure they have adequate opportunity to review. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I see that under item number 3 is that the delegated authority be limited to any fees and charges that not exceed the rate of inflation. So I think that's a good framework to provide some guidance to staff as well. So I think that's a good part of it. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Unopposed, and that is carried. And I believe that deals with all of the items under item 6, which is the Committee of the Whole. Next item then is the Committee of the Whole closed session of May 22nd. You do have the minutes before you. Could I have a motion with respect to the minutes that the Committee of the Whole meeting closed session minutes of May 22nd be approved? Regional Councillor, Councillor Quapis. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, and that is carried. So during this Committee of the Whole closed session, Council, item number 1 was a proposed corporate restructuring of Newmarket and Tay Group of Companies regarding information which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice or significantly prejudice the competitive position or interfere significantly with any contract or other negotiations. The presentation that Council received by Paul Ferguson from Newmarket Tay Power Distribution was with respect to a proposed corporate restructuring of Newmarket Tay Group of Companies, and that presentation was received. The second item at that meeting was consideration of expanded Newmarket Tay Power business opportunities, and again, if disclosed, this information could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with contract or other negotiations. The presentation by Paul Ferguson from Newmarket Tay Power Distribution Limited was considered, and and that presentation was received. Could I have a motion, please, that Council approves further discussion of an expanded Newmarket Tay power business opportunity? Regional Councillor, Councillor Vague. All those in favor? None opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Next item is items 1 and 2 of the appointment committee.
Item 3 from the closed session.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did miss item number 3 of the closed session. And with respect to that matter, we also had a discussion of closed session report 2018-4 regarding litigation advice relative to a property matter in Ward 5. And could I have a motion, please, that the closed session report of 2018-4 dated May 22nd regarding the litigation or potential litigation be received, and that the recommendations set out in that report be adopted? Councillor Quapis, Councillor Bizance. All those in favor? None opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Next, item number 7 is the draft of the appointment committee closed session meeting minutes of May 22nd. Could I have a motion that David Hinsberger be appointed to the Newmarket Accessibility Advisory Committee, and that Robert Bull be appointed to the Newmarket Economic Development Advisory Committee?
So,
Councillor Kerwin, Councillor Bizance. All those in favor?
Can we have discussion? Or? No?
I would have thought that discussion would have come for a request to the, is that with respect to identifiable individuals?
Well, you just identified them.
Yes, but that was on the basis that those reports were adopted and circulated.
Okay,
So I guess we should approve the minutes first, or do you wish to put that into a closed session for discussion?
No, I just want to ask a question in public setting. I'm pretty cautious. I don't.
Yeah.
We're voting on it, right?
Yes.
And it's public.
Yes.
Names are public. Everything's public.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to ask a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it needs to be in a closed session.
Okay. All right. No, that was my concern. If it related to an identifiable individual, but if not, okay, that's fine then. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, my question is in this, and I should have asked it in a previous occurrence some months ago when we had some appointments come forward. I'm not questioning the people before us or their skill sets.
Right, that's fine.
My question is just that, are we anticipating any more appointments? The term is getting late, and is this committee meeting again at all, or the appointment committee, or are we, if there was another opening, would it be entertaining filling spots beyond this point? Or?
That item was discussed as well, and we understand that there will be another report coming forward from the Clerk's Department in the next cycle, and coming out of that report, the recommendations with respect to whether or not any further appointments would be appropriate this late in the election cycle would be considered at that point. So that's going to come forward. I will turn it over to the clerk, maybe to expand on that further.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, as with the last election, we did bring a report forward towards the end of the year where we requested council approval to carry on with the statutory committees to allow them to continue meeting into the next term of council until further appointments had been made. And I think we're looking at expanding that to the Economic Development Committee also to allow the work to continue on. As you know, with this term of council, we did a committee review, board and committee review, which has been advised as a best practice with every new term of council. So sometimes it does take some time to align the committees with the new council strategic priorities. And in the meantime, we want to enable the statutory committees and any other committees that council feel adequate to allow them to continue meeting with the appointments. So we are bringing a report forward. So this is why we have some vacancies, and we felt it was best to fill those vacancies at this time.
Okay, so the report coming forward is to look at extending the time frame for some of the committees to keep operating to make sure that the necessary work is getting done. But the report doesn't include any new appointments? Or am I missing something?
No, the issue as to whether or not we should consider appointments this late in the term of council could be a discussion that we have at that time.
Oh, so there may be further.
We haven't decided to say no, and I think that's council's decision.
So that's the
right?
discussion that will
Yeah.
also be part of
Yeah.
the other. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. We call that question.
You did. You have a mover in a second.
Okay, so I'll call all those in favor. Any opposed? None opposed? And that is carried. Bylaws. If you could provide the recital then, Madam Clerk.
Bylaw 2018-25 is a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-25 by removing a holding provision on lands in relation to Mary Annville Developments Limited. Bylaw 2018-26 is a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2012-20 by removing a holding provision on lands known as 1250 Davis Drive and 1240 Twinney Drive in relation to Rice Commercial Group. Bylaw 2018-27 is a bylaw to authorize the issuance of a long-term loan through the Region of York for the purchase of the property known as 16780 Yonge Street. And bylaw 2018-28 is a bylaw to authorize certain new capital works, submission of an application to Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for financing and temporary borrowing, and to authorize long-term borrowing through the issuance of debentures through the Region of York. 2018-29 is a bylaw to amend bylaw 2010-40 as amended by removing a holding provision on lands known as 17844 Leslie Street in relation to 2578909 Ontario Inc. 2018-30 is a bylaw to amend bylaw 2016-17, being a bylaw to delegate administrative matters to staff and relates to restricted acts after nomination day. 2018-31 is a road occupancy bylaw to regulate the use, alteration, and occupancy of highways under the jurisdiction of the municipality. And 2018-32 is a bylaw to provide for the levy and collection of the sums required by the town for 2018 and to provide for the mailing of notices requisitioning the payment of taxes for 2018. 2018-33 is a bylaw to amend bylaw 1984-114 to correct title regarding the legal description for dedicating Alexander Road as a public highway.
Okay, thank you. Is there any bylaws that any members would have dealt with separately? Being none then, can I have a motion for those bylaws? Councillor Vague, Councillor Kerwin. All those in favor? Any opposed? Unopposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? Are there any motions? Announcements and community events. Councillor Bazance?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to start out with a couple of acknowledgements of some notable activities in 3 of the schools within Ward 7. The first is to congratulate the students at Alexander Muir Public School for an excellent diversity fair that they put on last week. I had an opportunity to attend, and it was quite remarkable, the fair. Student created and student led. It was an interactive evening where students put together different displays and booths to raise awareness of diversity and inclusion issues and ways to encourage respectful definitions, identify negative stereotypes, and most importantly, to encourage awareness on how to become allies to support others within an inclusive learning environment. But it really was quite a remarkable event, and I commend all of the students for creating the idea and putting it all together. It was truly remarkable. I also want to congratulate Poplar Banks Public School. Their senior band achieved gold status at the Musifest Nationals in Toronto, and I understand that Madame Smith is quite a dedicated and compassionate leader of the students, and was quite responsible for that achievement on behalf of the senior band. And finally, I also like to congratulate Crossland Public School on the occasion of their 25th anniversary, 25 years in the Glenway neighborhood. And I was present at that when they opened a time capsule that they had put together 25 years ago. And it was quite a lot of fun to see what the students at that time had put together, and things like cassette tapes and 8-track tapes and things that students today probably would have a hard time identifying or recognizing what they were. But the other thing that was very heartwarming was to see how many of the teachers as well as students and their families came back to celebrate 25 years of Crossland Public School, and also to see how many of the people who were young students, and we saw their pictures and so forth in the time capsule, now coming back 25 years later with their children, some of whom are also students at Crossland Public School. So I'd just like to acknowledge those three schools in Ward 7 and some notable achievements there. The next announcement I have is with respect to coming out and helping the town of Newmarket celebrate accessibility and abilities during National Access Awareness Week by coming to the Newmarket Community Centre in Lions Hall on Saturday, June 2nd from 9 a.m. till noon. Learn, experience, and enjoy this free interactive event. Create your own sensory exploration art, follow your pathway to awareness, view the magic talents of the amazing Andrew, and enjoy music by Taylor McKinnon. As a member of the Accessibility Committee, I can tell you that the committee members have put some thought and ideas into this annual event again this year, and we're really hoping to get a number of people out to the event to celebrate abilities, but also to encourage more increased awareness of the challenges that some of the people in our community have with being able to access events, access public amenities, and ways in which we can work positively together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Broom.
Thank you. Just quick accolades for Commissioner Peter Nohammer and his team. I was invited to represent Newmarket and substitute our mayor last week for the York Region Public Works Challenge, where all of our regional municipalities got together and they did games and challenges highlighting different things that we do in our community in the public works area. And I was sad when I only made 4th with the Public Works Challenge coming in first last year, but I had a lot of fun. They had a really hard course this year, and I had about 19 of our staff there cheering me on. A lot of pressure. I had to install a sign, I had to put on safety gear and start a truck and turn on lights. It was quite a challenge. But I had a lot of fun, met a lot of people, and I have to say I was very proud to represent our town, and I wanted to thank you for letting me attend. In addition,
those were road signs that you were putting up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, not as easy as it looks. I'd also. I think our staff is pretty funny. Councillor Broom is announcing the street sweeping is currently underway to remove the buildup of the sand and debris on our streets from the winter months. The street sweeping begins at the south end of the town and progresses north. It will take approximately 3 to 4 weeks to complete the work. The town asks that you please refrain from parking on the streets between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. to ensure a clear path for the sweeper. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Quappies.
Thank you. Notices will be delivered this week to residents of Niagara Street and Simcoe Street regarding a public consultation center scheduled for Tuesday, June 12th. It will be here, Kane A and B meeting rooms at the municipal offices, 395 Mulock Drive. The purpose is to discuss the proposed full reconstruction for Niagara and Simcoe Street and obtain feedback from the residents. The public meeting will begin at 6 p.m. with a presentation at 6:30 p.m., followed by a question and answer period. Representatives from our engineering services department and the town's consultant will be available to answer any questions. The work is expected to start in May 2020, and encourage everyone to come out. Thank you.
Thank you. Regional Councillor.
Thanks very much. A few things to touch on quickly here. First one is that there is also a public information center being held on Wednesday, June the 6th at 6 p.m. in Kane A and B. June the 6th at 6 p.m. And this is about the improvements to the soccer fields at George Richardson Park. So any questions about that, 905-895-5193. Again, that's June the 6th at 6 p.m. about the soccer field at George Richardson Park. A couple of other events that I'm quite involved in the next coming weeks. First of all, Big Bike for Heart and Stroke, which is going to be leaving from New Road Subaru on Yonge Street, is going to be on June 8th. We have a team every year for, oh my goodness, 8-9 years, maybe 10 years now. There's usually about 10 or 12 firefighters on the bike, several town staff and other people from around town, and we've raised over almost $75,000 now in the time we've been doing this for heart and stroke and towards research into heart disease. And also the Voices of Joy, an all-ability choir, an all-inclusive choir, is having its annual spring concert, but this is its 20th anniversary concert, and it's going to be a very significant one, and it's on June the 10th. That's June the 10th at 3 p.m. at Bethel Community Christian Reformed Church at 333 Davis Drive, just across from Lorne Avenue. So it's the 20th anniversary. The tickets are $10 or $15 at the door, and children under 12 are free. I will be the Master of Ceremonies for the evening, and it is a great event. It's a magical thing to see all of the people having so much fun and so much camaraderie and friendship at this event. And so if you're interested in attending that event, you can contact my office. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerwin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before I start, I'd like to thank Joe Persicini and Easter Seals for doing the 42nd run walkathon for children with disabilities. It was a successful event, and as I say, it was the 42nd time that it's been held, and I've never missed one. The one I did miss, it was held, I was in Edmonton at that time, and the late Larry Blight and I and Joe Sponga carried the banner in Edmonton, and we completed the 10K walk there. So once again, it was a great, the weather was fantastic. So once again, to Joe for doing this, for starting it 42 years ago. That's incredible that you've been doing it for 42 years. And I am happy to be part of it. The other announcement is come to live pub night on Saturday, June 16th at 5:30 p.m. at the Newmarket Seniors Meeting Place at 474 Davis Drive. This fun-filled evening features entertainment by Rec Room Elvis. The cost is $20 for members and $25 for non-members, which includes a meal, coffee, tea, and evening treats. Tickets can be purchased in advance online at play.newmarket.ca using code 113500. For more information, call 905-953-5325. Once again, just pick up the dial or phone and phone 905-953-5325. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Vig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of items. The first one is that we had the Newmarket Environmental Advisory Committee, which I'm very proud to sit on. We had our e-waste event this past Saturday at Upper Canada Mall, and I'm always amazed at how much e-waste we still have after numerous events like this, and we were able to fill a large metal bin. And I believe this event was actually started by our regional councillor, John Taylor. I'm not sure, how many years ago? 10, 11, 12 years ago. And so it was a great initiative, and it was great that this year the Newmarket Environmental Advisory Committee was able to pitch in and really do a hands-on job. So thank you everyone who came by to support the group or to drop off their e-waste. The second issue, or second item we have coming up, and this has to do with our traffic and transportation issues. The town of Newmarket is looking for residents' feedback on traffic and transportation. If you drive, cycle, walk, anywhere throughout the town, then we need to hear from you. This is an opportunity also for you to learn about the town's traffic mitigation strategy and to take our survey at newmarket.ca traffic strategy. And if you can do that as soon as possible, because we are looking for your comments, and through the survey you'll have a chance to provide comments on the town's traffic calming measures, pedestrian safety measures, cyclist safety measures, and pilot projects. So traffic and traffic mitigation and traffic safety in our communities, speeding, etc., is something that a lot of people talk about, and this is an opportunity for residents to provide their input and for us to collect a little bit more solid data than perhaps we'd had before on this. So I do invite everyone to come and take part in the survey and be part of the solution to this very serious and high-profile issue. Thank you.
Thank you. The town of Newmarket is proud to launch its new battery recycling program. Residents can now stop by a Town of Newmarket facility to drop off their used single-use batteries for recycling. Newmarket residents have always been environmentally conscious, and after hearing residents express an interest in having a more convenient location to recycle their batteries, the Town of Newmarket established this program to ensure that the proper avenues are available. This is for us to continue to reduce, reuse, and recycle. The proper disposal of batteries keeps hazardous waste materials out of the landfills and allows useful materials to be recovered and reused. For more information, visit newmarket.ca/waste and recycling. And our next council meeting is on Monday, June the 18th at 7 p.m. New business. Councillor Broom?
Thank you. I just a question for our clerk. There is a review of our bylaws that was coming up. It was in relation to the licensing of pet stores. You were going to have that happen in May. I was just wondering on an update on the date of when we'll be seeing that come forward.
Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are working on an information report currently. It should be out in the next few weeks. Speaking to our licensing bylaw review overall and an update on our parking area and with the new enforcement staff, how that's working. At this point, we will be recommending that we move forward with a workshop in the new term of council to identify the priorities of council with regards to licensing, and the pet shop area will be one of those areas that's highlighted in that. Among other areas like Uber and Airbnb, there's numerous regulatory areas that we should look at, but we are looking for council's direction and what they're interested in us bringing forward. So there will be an information report, which can obviously be bumped up if you want to have further discussion, but we are going to be looking at scheduling a workshop in the early new term of council on those matters.
Thank you. Any other? Being none, then there's no requirement for a closed session. Confirmatory bylaw.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. It's Councillor Vake, Councillor Kerman. All those in favor? None opposed? And that is carried. No vote. We don't need to vote on that. Okay, adjournment.
No one
wants to adjourn. Yep. Regional Councillor Councillor Coffey. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you.